Obviously, everyone was a bit disappointed to say the least about Saturday, but a game coming up on the Friday against what everyone kind of presumes is the champions of the division. That's a decent one to get back to it.
Yeah, obviously it's going to be a tough game on Friday night, and especially after taking such a heavy result on Saturday. But just need to get a good week of training and then go and show what we're capable of on Friday night against another very good team.
They'll be coming down with great confidence. They'll be wanting to finish the season with a flourish, but given everything that we've got ahead of us in the playoffs and the desire to bounce back from Saturday, I imagine the mood in the dressing room is one of real keenness to get to the game and get going.
Yeah, obviously it's a pure cliche saying, but it's forgetting about the last game and move on to the next one, especially when you've got playoffs coming up. It's about taking that confidence into the playoffs. And if we go get a win on Friday night, I think that will help the squad with that confidence. It's
also, albeit of course we'll have at least one in the playoffs to come, but it's the last home game of the season, so it'll be good to get a positive result just to kind of mark that off as the final kind of regular league home game of the season.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously fans come down for the last game, stuff like that, be on the telly as well to watch, so it's good for us to be put on a wee bit of a show. Obviously not sort of roll over, because everybody kind of thinks that they've won the league, but like I said, just go and put on a show.
And I suppose when we've already beaten them in the last game up at Tannadice, they'll possibly be coming down with a point to prove, so we'll need to be on our toes and making sure that we can level that score and make it 2 wins apiece over the course of the season.
Yeah, obviously they are a very good team, no doubt about it. They've gone and done very well in the league this year, but we're obviously a very good team as well, got promoted last year and we're in the playoffs as well, so it's about going and showing how good we can be on that night.
Rhys has talked a lot about that kind of fearlessness, that we're comfortable to go and take the game to any opposition in this division. Sometimes it'll go like Saturday, but a lot of the times, as we've seen this season, it'll go away when we do that. Is there just that same level of confidence amongst the playing squad? Is there a belief that okay, Dundee United have deservedly won the league, but on our day we can go and beat them?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously you take a sore result on Saturday, but I don't think it was a game where they've dominated the full game. I thought we were still very good in the first half. Second half we just kind of fell away, and that will happen, especially when you've got such a young squad. Sometimes that will happen, but like you said, if on our day we are fearless, we can go and take 3-4 goals off anybody. So.
Given the playoffs are coming, I suppose there's an element of no one obviously wants to pick up an injury, but I guess all you guys are thinking about wanting to play your way into those games and making sure that you've got the jersey when the playoffs actually start.
Yeah, obviously Dundee United are top of the league as well, so if you go and put on a good performance against them, who knows, one performance against them might help you get into the squad for the playoffs, so you never know.
And I guess when you've got the jersey, you don't want to relinquish it. You want to prove that you deserve to keep playing and keep playing.
Yeah, everybody wants to play in the big games, especially when it comes to that sort of playoffs, when you're playing for promotion, and like you said, the big games, that's where everybody wants to play.
Rhys also talks a lot about it being a squad game, so as much as we're talking about starting jerseys, I suppose the other aspect of it is that the whole squad needs to be ready to do a job if called upon.
Yeah, 100%. Like even the other week when Gav comes off the bench and scores, like that sort of thing's needed, especially when it comes to you've played so many games, then you've got extra games at the end of the season and the playoffs. Having a good squad and having team players about helps so much.
We have had a really rigorous schedule, and I'm thinking that it kind of coincided with when you joined us on loan from Rangers, that kind of schedule started to just ramp up with the cup and the league matches getting postponed and all these kind of spells of Tuesday, Saturday. So it does feel like we've played an awful lot of football since the year's turn, but I guess as players that's what you guys want, right, rather than being in here training.
Yeah, definitely, especially when you're playing so well. I think it helps build the confidence and it helps build the sort of team spirit where you're winning games and you're getting results here and there. It helps you take that sort of confidence into the end result, which will be the playoffs.
That end result that we talked about, we were speaking to Rhys earlier and they said that was a target from the start of the season. So with that target accomplished, I suppose there's nothing really to lose. You guys must just be very, very excited to get to the playoffs and get going.
Yeah, we are. Obviously, like you said, there's nothing to lose, but we've still got 2 games in the league, so we need to go and win them to maybe even get 3rd place before you never know. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Aaron, we'll let you get back out and get training. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rhys, obviously the players and everybody else will get another crack at Saturday's opponents in the not too distant future. But looking ahead, I suppose you've been in this situation before last season, playoffs secured with a couple of games to go. Does that make it easier to decide how you're going to approach these last 2 standard league games, or is it a kind of different scenario this year?
No, listen, first and foremost it's a good thing. I know it seems after the game a kind of negative and probably look like I'm fuming and raging, but quickly it's out the system. It's part of football. The good thing is you've got 2 games to spare, which allows you to maybe try and manage game load for certain people. There's been boys there that have been coming back from injuries, playing through niggles and stuff, so it just gives you a little bit of a different perspective and balance, that certain boys can either play some more minutes and whatever without the pressure of requiring a point or needing 3 points or whatever, because effectively your focus is on Partick again, obviously in the playoffs, so gives you a little bit longer to prepare, both on the pitch, off the pitch, so I see it as a positive.
I suppose it must be quite tricky to juggle the priorities, because you've got games you want to win, you've got ideally you want to go into the playoffs in a form and a bit of momentum, but it's clearly not the be all and end all, because they're their own competition really, and then you've got to think about, like you say, players' minutes, players' fitness, players' sharpness. So is that a difficult juggling act, or do you think, having done it last year, you kind of know the course?
I understand the question, but at the same time I think, like you said, it's still a pride thing, that would still ideally like to get third, be some achievement. From a personal point of view, I know I certainly would. Is it going to be the be all and end all if you become third or fourth? No, but at the same time, from a kind of personal point of view, I'd really like that accolade. But you've got to look at the bigger picture and the focus, and regardless of how that plays out, if we don't get third, then that's absolutely fine, because we know that we've already achieved the kind of target and the goal set by getting to the playoffs. If we've done that with 3 games, 5 games, 10 games, or in the last game, last goal, we've managed to achieve that, so we can't take too much away from that fact, and we've got to obviously remember that we're a newly promoted side, and what we've achieved in our first season as well, in the grand scheme and bigger picture of things, is really quite the achievement, so full credit to everyone involved. So our focus now, like you said, is almost on a separate competition, because we've had boys, for example, off the top of my head there, you've got Murray Aitken, who's now kind of back in doing his first session tonight, so being able to maybe use the remaining league games to hopefully get some kind of minutes into his legs will be a positive for our point of view. As well as obviously some boys that have played 90 minutes, so it gives a chance to kind of rotate a little bit without kind of just throwing all the kids in terms of your youth team. So really important that we use the 2 games, we try and experiment with certain ideas, try and be creative, but ultimately the bigger focus is on Partick.
There's the small matter of Dundee United coming down the road on the Friday night, and they'll, I suppose you could expect them maybe to be in party mood, but you kind of get the impression they want to finish the season in style and with a bit of a flourish. We'll be obviously trying to avoid them doing that at our place.
Of course, and it depends how you look at it, but as well, you remember the last game we played there, we went up to their home patch and we got the victory, so I'd imagine there'll be a little bit of a kind of revenge point of view from certainly Jim and his team. Like you said, I think theoretically, not quite mathematically, they've won the league, but they've managed to win the league, in my opinion, straight away, without going into too much detail about what a goal swing means. So champions, and deservedly so over the course of the season. So again, I don't know each kind of coach or manager's kind of situation. Does it give Jim a chance to maybe rotate and have a look at boys that maybe haven't been on the starting 11, that are maybe playing for contracts, come back from injuries, rest a few boys, because I know obviously they've got a home game next week, which I'd imagine will be a big attendance, so celebrating the lifting of the trophy at their home patch would be something that certainly we would do here, so I totally understand that as well. So again, in terms of what we're expecting, regardless of what team or what personnel or what mood they're in, they're a good side. they've showed that kind of all the games that we've played, and I wouldn't expect kind of Jim and any of the guys up there to come down and certainly disrespect themselves, never mind the opposition. So I fully expect, especially being on the TV, that they'll want to come down and end the season on a high by trying to get 2 victories. Ultimately we'll be trying to do the same, but maybe a positive from both sides is that, is it the be all and end all? If that doesn't happen, Dundee United have won the league, and like you say, we've achieved our objective by getting to the playoffs, and our focus is got to be about on the kind of 2 weeks and obviously that after Partick Thistle.
The fitness of the squad then, how are things lying with player availability? You talked about Murray, and that's great news. I think everyone's delighted that Murray's going to be back in, because it was Dundee United's last visit here that he picked up that injury that's put him out for so long. Obviously Cammy, Adam, yourself, still just about kind of drip feeding yourselves back in. Yeah,
well, again, Muzz he had a little bit of a setback after his operation, and obviously ankles and kind of breaks. It was very important. He's a young kid, that you don't rush him back and potentially do kind of further damage. So we've made sure that with his obviously approval and help and rehab, that he's going to come back and he's not going to have any issues. And obviously he's got I think it's a metal plate or something in his ankle, which it was strange. It was Dundee United here the last time. Cammy and Rhys, I took the opportunity to rest them. Like I said, I think if it had been a cup final tomorrow type thing, there's certainly no way that they two are saying they're not available. So I took that kind of onus and responsibility again, trying to think of the bigger picture, that we're going to need kind of 2 big players, captain and vice captain, available, and potentially being silly and just risking something for which turned out to be a kind of meaningless game. Would have been silly, and certainly something that I would have been kind of kicking myself at, especially you're looking at Adam, just getting in team of the year, and his stats and how well he's performed this year, from a captain's point of view as well, going into high pressure situations, going into playoff games and stuff. You're going to have to lean on that experience and your quality, and he certainly gives us that, as well as obviously Cammy. So really important that, like we said, we manage the squad. They're not too far away. They'll be probably joining in training this week. In terms of Friday night, it's maybe a conversation as the training days go on, how they're feeling, and like I said, I would rather they were fit for Partick Thistle as opposed to trying to rush things and be available for Dundee United.
And I guess like last week, that extends to yourself as well. You're building yourself back in.
Aye, so again, done a bit of training. So one of the ones got a scan, so there's still a slight tear, which again, it sounds doom and gloom, but it's positive. I'm feeling a little bit kind of better in terms of being able to move about and kind of push off my calf. So it's important, like I said, that it'd be great. Ideally, I'd like to get back into some kind of training capacity to try and get some minutes if I could, leading up to the playoff games, just so that if required, if I'm playing, if I'm kind of not playing, that if I'm called upon type thing, that you're not having that doubt and worry that I've not had any game time or it's been a while since I've played. So ideally I'd like that for everyone, not just myself. I'd like that for Kenny Murray, I'd like that for Cammy and Rhys, and the luxury is that we've got the next 2 games to hopefully experiment a little bit with that, and obviously with the bigger picture, the end goal of being the Partick Thistle in the playoffs.
And that playoff, I know we touched on it at the start of the chat there, but it is a tremendous achievement for the club to be back up at the first time in what feels like a long time, and straight back into playoffs again, the kind of competition we seem to love because we're in the playoffs all the time, it seems. Having had 2 experiences with us in that scenario, as a player and then player manager, how much are you looking forward to that challenge?
Well, first of all, we're excited. I think I'm a positive person in terms of this is what kind of I'd expected, and certainly had my sight set on was, especially after getting through that first round of fixtures and getting a kind of feel of what every team kind of had to offer. I stand by what I said, is that I thought that if we got that level of consistency throughout the season, that there was no reason why we couldn't be up the top end of the table, and I stand by it now. We've managed to get there. The only thing that I would say is slightly different in terms of the format. You're going to be coming up against kind of much bigger crowds, kind of better opposition from League One, but we've showed in the games so far this year, albeit in a different competition, that we've beaten Partick before, albeit we lost on Saturday. We've beaten Rhys, and we've also kind of beaten Dundee United, who were there, or St Johnstone, or whoever one of the teams are. We've showed against the the sides for the SPL that we've done reasonably well in the last few years. So in terms of a fear mentality, there's certainly not going to be any of that from us, but anything can happen in a game of football, we know that. We'll have to kind of remind ourselves to Hamilton and Falkirk, obviously, that football can change very, very quickly. But again, looking forward to it, there's almost a sense that there's no pressure on us. We're small Airdrie that aren't supposed to be here in the first place, so does that work in your favour? Who knows? But certainly from my point of view, it's something that we deserve. I think we were expecting, and certainly that was the kind of aim and the target. But the only thing that, again, it's a different format that I don't really like, is that should you progress Partick, you've got Raith Rovers, which is another kind of tough game for either side, whoever kind of progresses, and then you progress in there, you've got another tough game, and it's almost kind of never ending. And it's regardless of what someone says, it's suited to favour the side from the league above, which, whether you agree, whether you disagree, is irrelevant. You've just got to try and focus on one game at a time, and as daft as that may sound, the first game will be obviously I think it's a Tuesday night, whatever, so we focus on that, regroup, recover, focus on the task ahead, and we try and do the same the following game. We don't get too carried away thinking we're going to get through Partick or we're going to lose this game or whatever. We've literally got to take it one game at a time, because especially in these playoffs, as you've seen, regardless at what level, there's plenty kind of turns and bumps and roads, so we've got to make sure that we're positive, we go into the game with a mentality and a manner that we're quietly confident but not arrogant. We give each team and we give each game the respect that it's due. We try and lean on past experiences if we can. We try and utilise the kind of players and the squad that we've kind of had go through moments like that, as well as having that youthful side as well, that there shouldn't be any fear, there's no pressure. The boys go and do well and perform to their maximum. I do think there's a strong possibility that we could go all the way, but likewise, if we don't perform and we're just at 1 or 2% off it, then as we've showed, we'll not get there. But regardless of how the outcome comes, it's been a real positive season, one that I'm certainly proud of the boys, certainly proud of the club and the guys upstairs. Like you said, first season in, bigger picture, and taking a wee kind of moment of reflection, it's been real positive. And the main thing is, hopefully now kind of moving forward, we like to progress as a club, not just for a standpoint of staff, that we try and kind of propel the club forward each year and make sure we've got that progression.
Well, Rhys, you did tell us we'd get there and you were right, so we'll leave it there and we'll see you on Friday.
Cheers, see you.
Thank you.